So I'm on week 2 of my 90-day sprint, and I wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about what's been going on so far, what my thought process have been, so that you can get an idea of how you can run your next 90-day sprint. And again, if you have questions or if you are wondering how to start this for your own business, reach out. There will be details in the comments below. So like I said, I'm on week 2 of my 90-day sprint. You might have just started, you haven't started yet, you're thinking about it. So here are some of the things that I've been thinking about that really helped me so far. And I've done this 90-day sprint thing before many times. I just haven't done it in a while. And I think that for my business, I'm doing so many different things. I'm transitioning to different things. I'm doing less designing with third-party publishing. I'm doing less tech editing. I'm writing more. I'm writing a book for designers to help them with their launching, marketing, things like that. I have over 100 pages so far, and there's still more I want to add. I'm also writing novels. I have one out right now, the Magic Knitting Pattern book. It's a cozy mystery, and that's something that I've wanted to do since I was yay high. Not that I'm tall, but since I was a little kid. So that's what I've been up to. That's how I've pivoted in my business. And I think that having the resources that my business has provided, doing all the things I've done, I'm at the stage now where I can take risk. I don't have to publish a pattern every 2 weeks. I don't have to be submitting 20 patterns to a publication like I used to do and hope that I get 1 or 2 accepted. So my business has really shifted. So now with that shift, this is a good time to really hone in on what I want my business to look like going forward. This will not be forever, but it's really me focusing on, over the next 90 days, seeing what strategies are working, what isn't, so I can double down on different things and do things that really matters to me in a way that isn't as stressful as it used to be. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. So you might be just starting out and you're not as well established as I am, which is fine. We all start somewhere. But I think wherever you are in your business, this 90-day sprint will help you to really figure out what's working, what isn't, so you can make decisions right away and not have to wait till the end of the year or the next 6 months to see what you should change or shouldn't change. You have that rapid response. Okay, so the first thing I did was I set my goal. What did I want to achieve? Your goal could be a monetary goal. Maybe you want to make $500, $1,000, $10,000, whatever. Maybe your goal is to grow your email list, grow your following list, right? So make sure that you have a clear goal that you want. Write it down. Don't just keep it in your head. If your goal is to sell 500 copies of your new pattern, write it down, because that's going to come in handy later when we're talking about, tracking your progress and things like that. Maybe your goal is to sign up more people for your yarn club or your pattern club or your membership or whatever. What does that look like? And I don't want you to just write, I want more X. Be specific. You want X members. You want X dollars. Be very specific. And then the thing I always talk about all the time is to really understand who is your audience for this. Maybe your audience is more general, but for this particular 90-day sprint, get very granular. Who is your audience for this thing that you're pushing? So if your audience is usually beginner knitters who like socks, but they're just really now just dabbling their toe, pun intended, with socks, and you're providing them with easy patterns, okay, great. That's a demographic. Now let's get granular. What kind of socks are they looking at into? Do they want color work? Do they want top down? What do they want to feel like? Are they looking to feel a certain way? Are they looking for community? So get really clear on your audience. What are they coming to this thing that you're putting out there for? What are they hoping to get? When they're done with whatever you have to offer, how are they going to feel? What's the result they're going to walk away with? What's the transformation? So if you are doing a yarn club, who is a yarn club for? You could have one for geeks. You could have one for folks who like Avatar, Last Airbender, right? Be very specific and then talk about what they're going to get. They're going to get colorways that represent, the characters from the book or the characters from the movie, the show. They're going to have this community. We're going to read books together. We're going to do, right? So be very specific about what this will all look like, and write it down. If you're not quite sure about your ideal audience, one of the tests I talk to my clients about is to really go back to your past customers. If you could look at your best customer, just pick one. We just want to focus on one person. And if you haven't sold anything, it could be a relative, a friend, someone who is, this ideal customer you'd want to have. Focus on that one person. Look at their social media, follow them, look at what they're struggling with, ask them questions. Social media has made it so easy for us to do market research, post on social media, post polls, DM people, right? We want to really understand who is this ideal, perfect person in your audience that if you could put them on a copy machine, you could just print out copy after copy after copy. And that's a person you want to focus on. And what about this person that you want to have in your audience over and over? What about them? Is it the way that they interact with your content? Is it the questions they ask? Is it that they are so enthusiastic about the colorways? Or what is it about this customer, this past customer, that you want to just have a ton of these type of people? So that's one of the things you really need to figure out. So first we talked about setting your goal. Be very specific about the goal. Figuring out who your perfect person is, who your ideal audience is for this particular offer. And then I have some notes over here, so that's why I'm looking and knitting at the same time. Okay, and then figure out how to track your progress, right? We're not just going to be just willy-nilly with this. It's about getting data. So you make a post about your thing, and how did it do? You sent an email about this thing that you're doing over the next 90 days. How did it do? Did people respond? Did they open the email? Did they open based on the subject line? Did they send you a reply? Right? We want to be tracking progress. If you are looking to grow your Instagram or TikTok or YouTube audience, at the start of the 90-day sprint, write down all those beginning data points. Where are you starting from? If you have 100 followers and your goal is to have 200 followers, we want to know where we're starting from so we could track weekly, daily, how far are we to getting that goal. So start with your beginning data points. Where are you now? And then where do you want to get to? There's a bunch of different ways you can do this. You can track, like, I don't know if you've seen like those charities or donation things where they have like the little graphic where they color in as they get more donations. If that's your kind of, if that's your style, you could do that. You could do stickers, you could do whatever. But you really need to figure out how to track your progress. And we're not just tracking your progress at the end of 90 days. We are tracking your progress throughout. And this is going to seem like, oh man, this is a lot of work. Yeah, running a business is a lot of work. You're going to track your progress daily, weekly. We want to see how are we impacting our audience. Are we getting more are comments and sales from a particular piece of content. If you're tracking to see if a particular content is working, maybe you could put a coupon code in that comment, where you know that any sale that come in that uses that code came from that particular piece of content. So maybe if you are doing YouTube and you're doing Instagram, you could have a code for Instagram, you could have a code for YouTube. So when those sales come in, if folks are using a particular code, you can say, well, YouTube is where this particular transaction came from because they're using that code versus Instagram, and so on and so forth. So figure out how you're going to track and then actually track. We don't want to wait until the end of the 90 days to figure out, did this work? Did I hit my goal? And we want to track pretty regularly because we want to know what's working and what isn't. If you know something isn't working, stop doing it. We want to be able to experiment. We want to be able to pivot. We want to be able to change as things happen. We want to not just change willy-nilly, but we want to change based on the feedback we're getting. So with better feedback, we can make better decisions. And that's what this 90-day sprint is all about. It's about you putting an offer out there, seeing the response from your audience. Do they like it? Do they like the messaging? Because it's not a matter of, oh, they hate this thing. Maybe you are not talking about it in the right way. And by being consistently talking about this thing 90 days, you're going to get better around your messaging. You're going to be able to say this thing clearer than, on day 90 than you did on day 1. So it's a matter of you consistently showing up, sharing value, going out there and just telling folks, this is what I have to offer and this is why it matters to you. Again, you need to understand who your ideal audience is, what they need from you, because this is not you talking about yourself for 90 days. That's boring. Nobody wants to hear that. It's you presenting your offer to your audience for 90 days and just having conversations around why it matters to them, how it fits into their lives, how it will change their lives, transform their lives, how it will make their life better or different or happy or sad, whatever. So it's really about you getting clear on who you're serving, what they need, okay? And as you're posting, you will see what's working and what isn't. You will quickly understand what your audience is responding to. So you're going to set your goal. It's going to be very specific. You're going to figure out who your ideal audience is. Then you're going to figure out how to track your progress, see what works for you. If you need some help with that, let me know. And then you're going to break down your goal as you go along, right? You're not going to wait till day 90 to figure out, did I hit my goal? You're going to break down your goal. What are you going to do daily, weekly, monthly, until those 90 days are up? Okay? And then you're going to set your goals. You're going to pivot. You're going to experiment. You're going to change as you get better results. You're going to see what worked and what doesn't work and do more of what works. So that's it. That's pretty much the strategy for my 90-day sprint. And I hope this is helping you to really understand and figure out what could work for your 90-day sprint. Now, if you are a Pattern Partnership member, let's get on a coaching call. Let's talk about your 90-day sprint. But if you're not a member of Pattern Partnership, feel free to join. There are links below. There are tons of courses. There are tons of past group coaching sessions that will help you to figure out your next best step. Because I understand that, we are all at different spots in our lives. So what somebody says in a group coaching call might trigger something for you and say, oh yeah, I can totally do that. I really need that in my life. And then we also have one-on-one coaching. So when you join Pattern Partnership, every month you can book a one-on-one coaching session with me. And we could talk about things like this. We could talk about your next launch, your past launch, how to leverage your past patterns so that you don't have to keep launching. So you can get off that hamster wheel and make more money, essentially, without putting out more patterns, right? I think I've only put out like 1 or 2 patterns this year. Is it? Yeah. Considering I used to put out quite a lot of patterns, I don't do that anymore. And that's part of my 90-day sprint. My 90-day sprint is to focus on getting more copies of my book, Cardigans for Everybody, out there. And to get more copies of my novel out there. That's my 90-day sprint. So it's not about me launching something new. It's not about growing my audience, which will happen as a byproduct of talking about what I do for 90 days. My audience will grow. But people will also be leaving my Instagram and my email because I'm going to be talking about it so often. And that's fine. We want people to opt out if they're like, I don't want this anymore. And then I want folks who have not heard me talk about stuff like this before to opt in, right? So I'm hoping that the more I talk about my book, both my books, that people will opt in and opt out. People who have heard it before and just like, yep, I got it, I've had enough, will opt out, bless and release. And then new folks will come in because they are now seeing it because of the frequency of the conversation around it. So yeah, if you are in pattern partnership, book your one-on-one coaching session with me. We do that every month. If you are not a part of pattern partnership and you're like, I don't want to join a membership, I do offer one-on-one coaching, just one-off. So if I can support you on your 90-day sprint or your next launch or something else in your fiber business, please reach out. I would love to help you figure out your next best step. I've worked with yarn store owners, I've worked with dyers, I've worked with designers, technical editors. I've done a lot of the different things in this industry, so I have a lot of experience with how the industry works and some very unusual tactics that, you know, people are just like, oh, that's so hard, or that seems weird, but it works, right? I had a customer, a designer, Amy, and when she came to me, she was like, I have this great pattern that's coming out. I want to be able to get it out there. We came up with a email strategy that started with a lead magnet. Her lead magnet was amazing. It was something that she had never even thought of, and we were just like, do this, and she got so many people signed up to her email list. And from that email list, she was able to sell 300 copies of her pattern during the launch. Just during the launch. And we know that the launch period is only like a couple of weeks. So she had 300 people who bought her patterns during the launch. And when she emailed me and told me that, I was just like, oh my gosh, that is beyond what we had projected. We knew that pattern was going to do well, but we didn't know it was going to do that well during the launch. And yeah, that email was just amazing to receive that she was doing so well. And imagine if the pattern did well during the launch, how much better it's doing after. So we worked on not just the email, not just the lead magnet, but we created a pre-order plan, we created a launch plan and a post-launch plan, and it was just phenomenal. So if that's something that you are interested in learning more about, if you are just like, I just want to make 5 more sales during my launch or 100 more sales during my launch, or to figure out how to continue to sell patterns after the launch ends, where you're just like, I don't know what else to say about this thing, let's chat. Because the post-launch, after your launch ends, that's where you're going to make the bulk of your sales. And I talk about this a lot inside of Pattern Partnership, where folks are like, during the pre-launch, you're excited. During the launch, you're excited. And then after the launch, and they're like, okay, let's start another pattern. And my thing is, after the launch ends, let's talk more about the pattern. Let's do more to get it out into the world. because people didn't see it. Not everybody saw that pattern out there. You might feel like, oh, I'm bored talking about it, because you're thinking about your pattern every single day. People who are just now meeting you, they haven't seen it. They don't know anything about it. And if you stop talking about it, they're never going to know about it. There are 1 billion people on the planet, millions of knitters and crocheters, and only 10 people bought your pattern. There are millions of knitters and crocheters out there, and only 10 bought your pattern, and you think it's time for you to go launch another pattern, when this pattern hasn't even hit a fraction of the potential audience, knitters and crocheters out there who would want your pattern. And you're going to spend more time and money and energy developing a new pattern, launching a new pattern, only to get 10 more patterns. When this pattern is still new, still fresh, it's not milk, it didn't go bad, you can still talk about it. When this pattern is sitting here collecting virtual dust, that you could be reaching out to more people. Right? You've already spent the money on the yarn. You've already spent the time on developing, making the pattern. You've already spent the money on the tech editor, photography, and all that stuff. So why go on to a new pattern when you can just continue to sell this one? Because now it's just all profit. With the next pattern, it's going to be another expense. Right? So those are some of the things that we talk about when we do pattern partnership coaching, or when people join, when people book for the Launch by Design one-on-one, one-time coaching session with me. So if this is something that I can help you with, if you are like, I just need somebody to take a look at my business and just give me a second opinion or something like that, let me know. Let me help you figure out your next best step. You've been in this mode for a long time. You're just like spinning your wheels, doing a lot of things. Let someone else who's been there. My business is very successful. I've done a lot. I'm teaching. I'm traveling the world. I'm going around the country teaching. I'm doing Creative Bug. I'm working with Missouri Star. I'm doing all these different things. And I want to help you to get there too. I want you to figure out what is possible for you. Because I think a lot of designers think that the only thing they can do is publish patterns, and that's it. And that's not it. There's so much more you can do with your design than just publish patterns. You can do so much. You could do kits, you could do tutorials, you could work with brands. There is so much you can do. And I don't want you to just limit yourself to just $5 patterns. I don't want you to just be limiting yourself to one pattern sale, one at a time. I want you to be able to generate hundreds of dollars in one sitting, thousands of dollars in one sitting, instead of just one pattern, one sale, one transaction at a time. It's possible. I've done it. Right? It's not easy. You have to put yourself out there. You have to build a brand. You have to figure out who you are, what you want to say to the world. But it is possible. If I can do it as a black, fat, immigrant person in this country, if I can do this, then what's holding you back? So that's my 90-day sprint. I hope this has been helpful for you. If I can support you in any way, please do not hesitate to reach out. All the information is in the description below. Talk to you later.